Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's call to order the Planning Commission meeting for July 27th, 2009. Welcome to the Sure Forum and to the Planning Commission meeting. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Lilia, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Adam?
Here.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Grumney?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Chair Lund?
Here. Written comments, announcements, and continuances. Mr. Town.
Thank you, Chair Lund. We do have one item in terms of the supplemental packet, which was distributed to commissioners this afternoon via email. It's a letter in support of cases 6B and 6C. That is the famous Sports Bar and Grill and the Darband Grill. Thank you.
Thank you. I just see here now that we have public comment card from Mr. Nick Kidway, so let me ask Mr. Kidway to come to the dais. Good evening, sir. You have 5 minutes this evening. Please state your name and your city of residence for the record.
Chair, Lund, planning commissioners, I beg in the name of God, who's most beneficial, most merciful. My name is Nick Iqbal Kidwai, and last time I checked Commissioner Reynolds, I'm still the Director of Concerned Citizens Thousand Oaks, which was formed in 1993 to fight the Circuit City development and the destruction of our gateway into Lynn Ranch. Guess this is the last hurrah before the holidays, despite the really tough times that our city, state, and our country is going. Guess this is a great time to take 6 weeks off for the council. Perhaps since you folks are all appointed by them, that you can ask that maybe they should come in next month and address some of the pressing issues that this city has and do some good things for the citizens of Thousand Oaks. I would like TOTV to show the minutes that I have on the overhead. These are the draft minutes that are in your packet from the last meeting. If you can see, regarding the mobile home issue, there were speakers like Robert Coldren from Santa Ana, applicant's attorney. Pro. Bill Schweinfurth, Agora Hills representative applicants for questions only. Eric Harum, Newbury Park, HOA president. Brenda Feldman, HOA vice president. Madeline Binder, Con. Then you recess for a short while, and then it goes on that Nick Kidwai, Newbury Park, Con. I guess Concerned Citizens does not ring a bell in this agency to be even mentioned as an organized group. Doesn't make any difference to me. This, in fact, I wish I was not visible. The lady just said as I was walking in that way, "Oh, you're the same guy I've seen for years. Wouldn't mind wearing a mask," because I don't get any respect. TOTV, please show this minutes from 1997. I mean, this is such a basic American democratic value. You look at that. There's 2 pages of it, of the minutes. It takes a little bit longer. In fact, people will say, Mr. Fisher, that, well, we are a bigger city than we were in 97 or 65. We don't really have the time. In reality, public participation is almost zero or non-existent, or maybe 5–10%. We are in worse shape than the city of Oxnard as far as public comments is concerned. If you go on the internet, take a comparison. And the sad thing is that, I mean, you allow people to come over here because the flag is still there, and I forgot to bring my camera with the clipped wing. I mean, just a perfect example, even from God and from the founders, that the state of the city. If TOTV is already showing that Circuit City empty right now. And that's the sale that they had. It was in the parking lot. I don't know if it's still there. In fact, the sale was good, 90% off, so I got some goodies there. That's my favorite burger place, Frank's Charboiler, at the Jan's Mall, empty. In fact, I just saw Chef's Burger down the street from here, and I guess some people, in fact, you folks, I mean, you are planners, I mean, you consider that building to be blighted. Then you want to have a new building there so that the rents will be so high that no mom and pop business will be able to afford it. I know the other silly thing is that you folks are not supposed to look at cost factors because you have planning commission. I mean, these are the kind of things, even if they come from the state, that you should be fighting to make a change rather than just sitting and looking pretty. And I just happened to go to Camarillo and I saw Semtech is across the street, or was across the street from Amgen, and that's a Semtech building on Flynn Road. It's a whole campus that they have opened and left Newbury Park. I mean, we need to examine what we are doing right, what we are doing wrong. And I would really appreciate if the planning commissioners would answer some of these questions rather than just having to go into the ether. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I really appreciate much to learn what you're doing, and I hope the planning commissioners have a great time off.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. I have another card here from Mr. Marks, Eugene Marks. Is that for public comments, sir, or for one of the cases we're hearing this evening? Okay. Which case would that be? Very good, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, we're done with that section of the agenda, and I'd ask the recording secretary to please call case 6A.
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 6A regarding case SUP 2008-70071, OTP 2008-70121. Applicant, OmniPoint Communications, Inc., T-Mobile. Request to allow installation of a wireless communications facility consisting of replacement of an existing SCE light standard with similar light standard and associated equipment to be placed in an underground vault on adjacent residential property, and to allow encroachment into the protected zones of 2 oak trees in association with the installation of a wireless facility. Location, 751 North Westlake Boulevard and 3996 West Skelton Canyon Circle, southwest corner of North Westlake Boulevard and Skelton Canyon Circle.
Thank you very much. Now we go to staff report. Ms. Leopold has the duties this evening. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Chair Lung and members of the Commission. Staff has provided the following PowerPoint for your consideration. The applicant is OmniPoint Communications, otherwise known as T-Mobile. The location is the southwest corner of Westlake Boulevard and West Skeleton Canyon Circle. Proposal is to allow the installation of a wireless communications facility in oak tree encroachments. The applicant's request for SUP 2008-70071 is to allow the installation of an unmanned wireless communications facility involving the replacement of an existing light standard with a new street light pole with 2 antennas, and to place the associated equipment cabinets in an underground vault on adjacent residential property. The applicant's request for OTP 2008-70121 is to allow encroachment into the protected zones of 2 oak trees. This aerial photo shows the proposed location of the project at 751 North Westlake Boulevard and 3996 West Skeleton Canyon Circle. This is a view from the east side of Westlake Boulevard of the subject light pole. And this is a view from southbound Westlake Boulevard of the subject light pole. This is a view from West Skeleton Canyon Circle of the flag lot driveway, the residential lot, and you'll see the Aleppo pine tree in the foreground. The project design, the purpose is to provide localized coverage along Westlake Boulevard in the vicinity of Skeleton Canyon Circle. Staff evaluated 11 alternate locations and including sites suggested at the community outreach meeting. The new replacement light pole with 2 panel antennas will be screened by a cylindrical radome. The overall height of the street light is 35 feet. The height of the radome is 5 foot 6 inches, and the existing street light is 29 feet 6 inches in height. The proposed design also includes associated equipment cabinets, which will be placed in an underground vault. The vault access hatch, electric meter pedestal, and GPS antenna will be screened by landscaping. The proposed encroachment within the protected zones of 2 oak trees, trees number 1 and number 9. This site plan shows the equipment vault location adjacent to the flag lot driveway. This particular photo shows the before, and this particular photo shows after with the radome and the antennas underneath the radome on the top of the light pole. This particular photo is a before photo, and this particular photo shows after with the radome attached to the top of the light pole with the antennas underneath the radome. Another before photo, this is a photo of the flag lot driveway, and you'll see the Aleppo pine multi-trunk tree in the foreground. This is the after photo showing the meter pedestal, the electric meter pedestal, and the access hatch to the underground vault. There's also proposed landscaping shown on this particular photo to screen the meter pedestal and the access hatch to the underground vault. This is an east elevation of the light pole and the underground vault. You can see a cross-section of the vault underground. The evaluation staff recommends removal of 1 oak tree instead of encroachment into the protected zones of 2 oak trees. Removal of oak tree number 9 is recommended in lieu of the encroachment because the tree has been severely pruned for line-of-sight purposes along Westlake Boulevard. Replacement oaks would include 1 36-inch box and 2 24-inch box trees. Also, the proposed encroachment into oak tree number 1 can be avoided by adjusting the location of the proposed underground vault while still minimizing disturbance to the root system of the nearby pine tree. Proposed antenna and radome are similar in design to others approved by the city. The project will not have a significant visual impact. The project also complies with city standards and guidelines for installation of wireless communication facilities. Environmental review consists that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301 of the CEQA guidelines, Class 1, minor alteration to an existing structure. Staff recommendation, staff recommends approval of SUP 2008-70071 and OTP 2008-70121 based on findings and subject to the conditions detailed in the staff report.
Thank you very much. Questions for staff? All right, let's go to the far dais and Commissioner Reynolds first.
Good evening, Ms. Leopold. I just wanted to know if the replacement tree is larger than the tree that's being removed. Good evening, Mr. Moore.
Good evening. The 36-inch box will probably be equal to the size and certainly much better condition than the tree that's being removed.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Adam?
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Moore. On oak tree number 9 that Commissioner Reynolds just brought up then, so we're basically saying that it's been so severely pruned, even despite the fact that it's not in the way of anything, we'd be better off with the replacement trees than the one that's there?
Not only has it been severely pruned, the reason it's been severely pruned is probably within a foot of the curb and the right-of-way, so it never will be allowed to be to develop into a real tree. It's pretty comical, really. It's trimmed straight down the curb line, and the poor tree doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, I did see the tree. It looks like it's part of the bush that's there. You can't really distinguish it. It's, like you said,
It's an oak hedge.
the poor tree. That's a good adjective. So then there'll be no encroachment on number 1 then, because we're going to move the vault, so we won't have to encroach on that at all, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then just a quick question for Mr. Kramer. Mr. Kramer, in the letter that you wrote to the city on page 30, where there's this one paragraph that struck me a little bit. You said, I recommend for record purposes that the Planning Commission ask T-Mobile to confirm that the photo simulation was an accurate representation of the project designed to be constructed. Do you have reservations about these photo simulations that we've seen?
No, actually, this is a new process based on some things that have happened in another city that I'm trying to propagate around. And in a different situation, different city, because the city had asked on the record about the accuracy of the photo sims, it helped later when there was a variance from the project as constructed. So no special alert here. Frankly, the design is a good design, but I will continue to recommend this, excuse the phrase, until I've trained you to do it automatically.
Okay, I understand. So there was a problem in another city, and
I'm trying to protect Thousand Oaks from what happened in another city.
I understand. Okay, but no reservations about what we've seen?
None, sir.
Okay. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adam. Commissioner Fisher.
Actually, Commissioner Adam just hit it up with Mr. Kramer. I had the same question on that paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moore, by the way, I wanted to compliment you on your choice of shirts this evening.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the dais? Okay. With that, we'll call our first speaker tonight, and Miss Courtney Schmidt. Good evening to you this evening.
Good evening.
Please state your name and your city of residence for the record, and you'll have 15 minutes to present this evening.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Schmidt. I'm representing T-Mobile this evening. My address is 6303 Owensmouth, Los Angeles. With me this evening also on behalf of T-Mobile is Adrienne Patnod. She is the real estate and zoning manager for T-Mobile, as well as we also have our Oak Tree consultant with us this evening as well for questions, should there be any, and 2 radio frequency engineers, should you have any questions for them as well. T-Mobile is before you this evening requesting approval of their special use permit application as well as our Oak Tree permit application. We were before you last October for our first Planning Commission hearing, and some questions were raised as to our participation with the HOA as well as the surrounding residents. And since then, we have performed a community outreach meeting which occurred on October 22nd. There were a number of residents present as well as HOA representative. T-Mobile was presented with a number of alternatives for them to review after this meeting. T-Mobile has spent an extensive amount of time reviewing those alternative locations in the community, and we are ready to present those back to you. We have continued to keep staff as well as the HOA abreast of our progress with those alternatives, and they have in turn provided the additional information back to the residents. We've also reviewed, as a result of taking into consideration what was discussed at the Planning Commission hearing as well as the community outreach meeting, alternative equipment solutions for our proposed installation. Another item which occurred since the last time we were before you is that our proposed installation has received the Homeowners Association's Architectural Committee approval on May 19, 2009. Why are we here? We're here because T-Mobile does not have coverage in this area of Thousand Oaks, and the need for coverage is not just the people driving up, down through the community on Westlake Boulevard. It's also for the surrounding residents and those people utilizing service in their homes. We're not just using our cell phones in the car for business purposes at work. We're utilizing in our homes. There's multiple people in our homes with different cell phones. We're utilizing them for voice, for data, texting, and a site such as this will enable people in this community to utilize their homes in the residential in-building atmosphere, as well as up and down Westlake Boulevard, and to be able to connect up to our sites nearby. This is our current coverage map, and as you can see, white, which is in the center of this map, is where our needs are. That's where our coverage needs are. We have no coverage. The areas that are yellow are somewhat better, but not able to necessarily propagate and hold on to a call. And then obviously green is good, and those represent our surrounding sites. After the site is on air, this is what our coverage will look like. Will provide very good coverage on either side of Westlake Boulevard, on the east and west side for those residents living on either side of Westlake Boulevard. It also provide coverage to connect up to our sites to the south, as well as some sites to the north that are covered up by the label at the top. Why the right-of-way? We're in an area that's residential, and your code requires us in a residential area to utilize an existing structure. There's no commercial properties, no institutional properties in or near our coverage objective that we're able to utilize an existing structure on those private properties. Therefore, we go to the right-of-way. We utilize existing utility structures that people are used to seeing in the right-of-way that have become a commonplace for wireless carriers to install, especially in the city of Thousand Oaks. In this instance, it's Southern California Edison light poles. Southern California Edison even has a group that works with the wireless carriers to ensure that we've been able to meet the expectation of the coverage needs, but also from a visual standpoint with the residents. In this instance, we've looked at a number of Southern California Edison streetlights up and down Westlake Boulevard, and have found one location where, by working with staff actually a number of years ago, have been able to actually hide our equipment, not necessarily wide open in the right-of-way, but on an adjacent property. This is a similar aerial that was represented by staff earlier. I want to get into the alternatives that were discussed prior to meeting with the residents on October 22nd, but also during that meeting. And this map shows you, and I'm breaking it up into two maps because it's a large area, but this map shows you the first area I'd like to discuss. This is our search area, and in the center of that search area is a little blue triangle, and that's our proposed site location. We looked at a number of sites in this area to come up with our proposed site that's before you this evening. The first alternative is the southeast corner of Skelton Canyon and Westlake Boulevard. And in that instance, there was not an existing street light at that particular area, and the right-of-way was such that hiding and screening equipment in this location was not a good viable option. It was a very small right-of-way. We then looked to the northeast corner. Very similar situation. The right-of-way was very small, very few options to actually screen equipment, no room for a vault. As you can see, west of our search area is the third alternative, which is a existing water tank. It's over 3,000 feet away from our search area and will not provide adequate coverage to this particular area of along Westlake Boulevard. The next option was reviewed prior to the last Planning Commission meeting, and it was presented to us by a nearby resident, which had the suggestion of why not install a new pole along Westlake Boulevard, approximately 650 feet south of our proposed location. There are a few issues that come about with this proposed location. First, there's no existing pole. Your ordinance prefers us and wants us to utilize existing structures. And second, even though it is in our search area, the topography drops off here, and it does not meet our coverage objective at this particular location. The next option that was reviewed was the existing traffic signal at Hillcrest and Westlake Boulevard, just a little further south of the search point. And the traffic engineers preferred us not utilizing their structures for the installation of wireless and antennas, and there was insufficient space in the right-of-way for such equipment that we were going to need at this location. And then we moved further up, and an installation, a proposed installation that was proposed just hours before our previous Planning Commission meeting was a property that was owned by the Homeowners Association on an open space lot that was just, runs behind Skeleton Canyon and just south of there. However, the grade is so lower than Westlake Boulevard that a pole, which isn't necessarily in line with your wireless ordinance, would have to be a significant height. And there were also concerns in regards to available telco and power. We then moved a little further north into the search ring and reviewed some options at Deepwood and Westlake Boulevard, and we spent a significant amount of time here. We looked at 3 options. There was not an existing light pole here on the west side of Westlake Boulevard, but after reviewing this area with the city and Public Works, they found it to be an appropriate location for a Southern California Edison streetlight. We then had to find a place for our equipment, and one of the suggestions was proposing it on private property, the gentleman who owns the land at the end of Skeleton Canyon. We approached him and his wife, and they did not have any interest in placing the equipment on their property, leasing space for this equipment. There's a sewer easement that runs right through there, and there's also a floodplain zone as well, which made it a little more difficult to find a good location on their property. The next property north is owned by the HOA, and they were very interested in leasing us space for our proposed equipment. However, after further review, the elevation drops off significantly, hence the floodplain area, and there was insufficient space for a vault or even equipment cabinets on that property. We then looked at the right-of-way, the space right just west of the curb, and there was not enough space to place a vault there. Sufficient place to place equipment cabinets, but a few issues. One, we were going to have to remove approximately 5 or 6 oak trees. We were going to be in the protective zone of several other oak trees, as well as some mature trees. And on top of that, we were going to be right on top of the curb face. There was going to be absolutely no option to screen the cabinets. Our utilities were coming from the east side of Westlake Boulevard. Therefore, there would be an additional transformer on the east side of Westlake Boulevard, as well as an additional cabinet on the west side of Westlake Boulevard with our cabinets. After reviewing that option with staff, with Public Works, it was determined that that was not a good viable option from a siting standpoint. Then we moved further north in our discussions with the residents, and we looked at 3 options at Valley Spring and Westlake Boulevard, one being their community center, and 2 others which were existing light poles up there, which I believe are actually owned by the city of Thousand Oaks. Any installation at this intersection would have to be a significant height that is, A, outside of the wireless ordinance, and not just for the height purposes, but also the fact that we would be installing a new or replacing an existing structure well outside of the height limits required by your ordinance. And the final installation, proposed installation that was requested us to review was even further north, which is the Southern California Edison transmission line that runs east-west across Westlake Boulevard. There's a number of carriers already up there. It is not within our coverage objective for this area. It could not meet our coverage objectives to this area because of its distance from the search area. I want to take a look at and focus in on this photo sim of the proposed vault. If you recall, the last time we were before you, we had above-ground equipment cabinets screened by a black tubular metal fence with screening of landscaping around that. And listening to the residents that evening, speaking to them at the outreach meeting, it was determined that their preference was a vault. And we spoke a little bit about a vault that evening. There were discussions in regards to why can't a vault be used. One of the reasons the vault that was being proposed at that point in time was a much larger vault. It required vent stacks. It was approximately 30% larger below grade than what what the proposed vault is that we're showing you this evening. That would require some disruption to the root structure of this large pine tree, which helps screen the equipment, as well as we would have to move into the protective zone of Oak Tree 1, which we are now out of. With this proposed vault location, like I said, it is a smaller footprint underground, and we are able to successfully screen it with additional landscaping as proposed to staff and in the photosim provided to you this evening. The proposal that's before you is not a significant visual impact to the community. It complies with the guidelines of your ordinance, and as you see from our coverage maps, we continue to have a significant gap in coverage. There's not a less intrusive means to accomplish the same coverage. Therefore, we are respectively asking your approval for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions from Ms. Schmidt? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to our public speakers now. Joan Denner, followed by Stephen Bitter, followed by Clark Macarthur. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Please state your name and city of residence for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Joan Daner, Westlake Village. I'm here this evening to ask you to deny T-Mobile's application for the special use permit. Last October, you directed T-Mobile to work with the residents of Skeleton Canyon to try to find a compromise to their request to build this facility. At the time, several residents spoke out against the request because the project would not fit with the character of our neighborhood, and we felt there were other sites that would not be as obtrusive as the site T-Mobile selected. In their application to you tonight, T-Mobile refers repeatedly to a community outreach meeting. The meeting they are referring to was attended by 3 out of the 20 households on Skeleton Canyon Circle. And that's because nobody notified the residents that this was going to occur. Stephen Bitter, Kevin Breen, and myself, who attended the original Planning Commission meeting, were notified, and we attended this meeting thinking it would be the first of several meetings to work together to find a better alternate site for this project. A number of sites were proposed, and as you heard, were all rejected by T-Mobile. We, the residents, never heard another word from T-Mobile. We did learn after the fact that T-Mobile attended a homeowners board meeting and to get approval to use Tom Appleton's property for an underground vault. The fact that the residents were not notified of this meeting shows that T-Mobile never intended to work with us, and we feel totally disenfranchised. The application shows that 10 sites were considered and rejected by T-Mobile because they were unacceptable for one reason or another. It is difficult to believe that the only site that will work for T-Mobile is the one on Skeleton Canyon. I would like to suggest the real reason T-Mobile rejected these alternate sites. In the city of Agora Hills, T-Mobile has an application for a cell phone tower installation at Lindero Canyon Middle School. The City Council put a stop to that proposal moving forward. They also requested that T-Mobile look at alternate sites. T-Mobile representative James Lee told the City Council that, and I quote, "The company does not have much motivation to seek out other sites when it already has a contract." That is true in this situation as well. T-Mobile deceptively agreed to look at other sites when all along they knew that they were only going to accept the site that is unacceptable to the residents in the area because they have a contract with Tom Appleton. It seems that deception is part of T-Mobile's corporate culture. If you look online, there are numerous examples of T-Mobile's heavy-handed tactics to force municipalities to give them what they want. In Northern California, T-Mobile has been accused of ignoring local zoning laws to set up cell sites. It seems that the California PUC is investigating whether T-Mobile is violating a commission rule that requires cell phone companies to comply with local zoning laws. It also appears that municipal governments are starting to say no to T-Mobile. The city of San Francisco has frozen all of the firm's pending applications. In June, the LA County Board of Supervisors denied a T-Mobile application for Windsor Hills based on the residents' opposition. The residents argued that T-Mobile submitted misleading evidence to the Planning Commission to minimize the tower's impact and maximize the company's case for expanded coverage. In Agora Hills, the issue of need was addressed by the residents. They argued that the federal law and the courts have defined significant gap in such a way that dropped calls or small areas of poor service do not count. I don't see any residents here supporting this application. Getting back to this particular application, T-Mobile states they have been sensitive in selecting a site that will minimize, if not eliminate, any detrimental impact on the surrounding area. We are here this evening to tell you we do not agree. The tower will stand out and does not fit the character of the neighborhood. While most of the equipment will be in an underground vault, then we have issues of the noise from the air conditioners that are needed to cool the equipment. This is right on top of homes. While we hope that T-Mobile would work with us in good faith, they did everything they could to marginalize the input of the residents. The application you are considering is deceptive, and we hope that you will agree with us that this application should be denied because it is based on deception, it is too close to residences, and it is out of character for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the speaker? Thank you very much. Stephen Bitter? Good evening, sir. Please state your name and your city residence for the record.
My name is Stephen Bitter. I'm from Thousand Oaks. It's our intention to show that T-Mobile has deceived the Homeowners Association and the Planning Commission by using extremely deceptive practices. T-Mobile has repeatedly misconstrued the truth and slandered their engineering studies to gain partial approval by the North Branch Homeowners Association of the proposed Skeleton Canyon cell tower. I have a package here. Back in May, for their approval to look at this vault and just to look at the site in general, they were given these photographs, these renditions, and this layout or engineering design. So if this is a copy of the proposed project given to HOA to approve the underground equipment vault at Skeleton Canyon Circle, there's two things in here. The photos to depict the actual antenna build-out and engineering.
Sir, why don't you hold on just 1 second so we can get you a portable mic so all the commissioners can hear and so can the audience. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, these were the photos that were actually passed to the Homeowners Association for them to look for the approval process. And what they were given were simulations or depictions showing this pole here, the existing pole is 6.5 inches in diameter. What they show here is a cylinder or radome that looks just like yellow radome over there. It's about 8 inches in diameter, about 4 feet high. Okay, what they really are planning to do in the engineering diagrams, which is very, very different, is this structure here, okay, compared to something like this, a lot smaller. Okay, now, how does that make a big difference? Well, first of all, just the size alone, take a look at those different. One looks like a giant water heater. The difference in volume alone is anywhere from 4 to 5 times different. Now, that information was used and passed on to the Homeowners Association to make a decision on whether they should do an approval on May 14th. That in itself is deception. Deception number 2, besides the size, it says here, two 30-inch directional antennas inside the radome. They're not 30-inch, they're 51-inch. That's what it's called out for in the engineering specs. But here again, they're trying to delineate what they're actually trying to do, okay? So is that a mistake? I mean, think about this. The two important points are, where's the vault going to be? How big is it going to be? Is it going to be underground or above ground? And is the radome going to be in our face? And it's going to be big or is it going to be small? Well, obviously, they want to make everybody think it's going to be small, get some approvals going, and then actually make it bigger. Deception number 3, alternative site candidates number 8, number 9, number 10 in the T-Mobile attachment 1.14 it says, due to the distance that this location is outside of the search area, the height of any structure would need to be higher than which is acceptable to the city. Now, from an engineering standpoint, it just takes a little basic science background to understand. First of all, this comes right off of their site, showing Skeleton Canyon down at the bottom here in the white zone with no coverage, and up here at the community center with no coverage. Well, guess what? The land up here is actually about 90 to 100 feet higher, which is equivalent to 3 utility poles higher. The area in between is actually a flat, graded area, and there's no obstructions, and this is shown right here. From the community center all the way down to Skeleton is a straight shot, line of sight. So line of sight is not the issue whatsoever. Okay? The coverage between here and here could be going back and forth, and they get whatever they need as far as coverage. So they rule those out. We, the residents of Skeleton Canyon Circle, respectfully request the Planning Commission deny this T-Mobile request to build this cell site until we have the opportunity to prove or disprove the viability and legitimacy of T-Mobile's engineering studies as it pertains to alternative cell sites. We would like the opportunity to seek out our own RF engineering and alternate cell site studies before a final decision is made that will affect our lives forever. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Questions for the speaker? Commissioner Adam?
Good evening, sir. Our staff reports is saying that the structure is going to be 35 feet high total, of which 5 feet 6 inches will be the radome. It doesn't stipulate how wide it'll be. So you're saying the radome will be as big as that white object over there?
Exactly the same size. And see,
not the yellow object.
Not the yellow. The yellow is what they portrayed when they actually gave the diagrams to the homeowners association for their approval. Excuse me?
Excuse me, no testimony from the audience.
The yellow is actually the one that's the 4 foot by 8 inches depicted in the photographs that they gave us.
Do you agree with the height that's been described to us, that the structure will be a total of 35 feet high?
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you take a look.
But you just think the radome is going to be bigger than what's been depicted?
Oh, no doubt about it. Matter of fact, this picture here, if this is 6 inches, and this is according to Southern Cal Edison, this cannot be 20 inches. It can only be 8 inches. So what we're talking about is something like this. Here, it's 6 inches at the top, 8 to 10 inches here. This one happens to be a 10-inch. That one is what they depicted in their photos, and then this is exactly what's going to be put up. This is a 1 foot in diameter pole, which is much larger than this 6-inch tapered down to 8 3/4 at the bottom.
Right.
This radome here is huge.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a difference between the two. Well, I guess we'll just have to hear what the applicant says in response, and I'd like to hear what Mr. Kramer has to say as well. But thank you for the depictions.
Thank you. Any further questions to the speaker? Thank you very much, sir. Clerk Macarthur? Good evening, sir. Please state your name and city residence for the record.
Clark Macarthur, live in Skelton Canyon, board member, North Ranch, POA. I think maybe we're at a road here where we might be able to find some compromise with the antenna on our corner. If we look down Westlake Boulevard past Cresthaven, excuse me, one second here. Past Hillcrest, we've got 4 more poles that are located right along the avenue there, lighting poles. One of them is 115 feet from Santiago, and the other's 215 feet from Hillcrest below that. And we're wondering, since Tom has such a long property here, why that this, we couldn't have an auxiliary pole placed down, which would be maybe at 200 feet, about a 10-foot difference in height, or at 150 feet along his property line there, which would still allow the company to have their egress into that area along the driveway, and it would take this blight off of our corner. Because we're not trying to stop the progress, it's just that cylinder is so close to some of the homes, they're right on the corner. Mr. Appleton's home is quite a ways down the driveway here. And we'd like to put that up for consideration, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions for the speaker? Thank you very much. Mr. Eugene Marks.
I will be brief. I'm Eugene Marks. I live in Thousand Oaks. And we're in the condos just west of this site, and I know that radio reception and probably transmission is poor in the area. We can't even get any FM or AM with an antenna. I also want to stress the fact that I'm a Luddite. And I just have a few questions as to why people in their homes don't have to use their cell phones. They can use the regular phones that they have. Why people driving up and down Westlake Boulevard can't wait till they get another block or two to where reception might be better and then yap away on their cell phones. And finally, my last brief question is, if this goes through and the antenna is put up and encroaching on oak tree space and so forth, how long will it be before other communication companies want the same kind of a deal? And then will we have a forest of antennas in the area? So I think the commission should probably consider that too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our public speakers this evening. Now we go back to staff for your comments.
Thank you, Chair Nunn and members of the commission. The first speaker had stated that the residents weren't notified of the outreach meeting, or I remember that 2 residents were out of town on a cruise. The HOA president for Westlake North Property Owners Association and the architectural consultant for that association did also attend the meeting. The meeting obviously was not always scheduled to accommodate everybody's schedule. We were under, at that time, direction from the commission to schedule a meeting with as many residents as we could, depending on their schedules and staff schedules, and report back to the commission the next meeting. And unfortunately, the next meeting was a little bit difficult to attain all the sites that were suggested and review of those sites. I do know that the Westlake North Homeowners Association reviewed the underground vault. In their letter that's on page 29 of your packet, The underground vault issue was addressed, but whether or not the homeowners association considered the replacement light pole in the public right-of-way, that's simply an item that the city would review, not necessarily the homeowners association. The radome is proposed to be 20 inches in diameter and 5.5 feet high. And this is on top of a 35-foot high replacement light pole. The auxiliary pole that was suggested by one of the speakers to be located south of Skeleton Canyon Circle, they're proposing to have a new light pole. Typically, the Department of Public Works would review any locations of new light poles. One of the suggestions in the alternatives was such that there was a new light pole to be located on the west side of Westlake Boulevard at Deepwood Drive. And that was reviewed by Public Works, and Public Works did consent that a replacement light pole could be considered at that location. But to place a light pole in a location where a street does not intersect, typically Public Works does not recommend that particular consideration. And Nader Hadari is also available with the Department of Public Works. I'd like to ask him to comment.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yet to follow up on Pam's comments, that is indeed the case, especially in the case of Westlake Boulevard, where you don't have a street that has continuous street lights, such as is the case in perhaps other cities or other areas. There's also a big push by many homeowners and residents these days for dark skies and reducing the amount of unnecessary lights that are along the streets. So adding one along Westlake when there appears to be others that are potentially workable has its own drawbacks, in addition to increased energy usage and so forth. I believe that's the extent of this item. As she indicated, the one at Deepwood was at an intersection, so it would have provided additional traffic safety and benefit it being in an intersection. But the other alternative location that's being discussed is not. And that was the summary from the Traffic Engineering Department.
Mr. Chair, let me offer my comments now, if I may, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kramer, good evening.
Good evening again, and I apologize for not having gotten the word that this is Hawaiian night. I have many Hawaiian shirts.
You were just busy working.
Thank you. Ms. Danner, and I apologize to the speakers if I mispronounce their names, brought up issue of what T-Mobile may or may not be doing in other communities, and as a practical matter, we look at this project as to what they've proposed here and what other cities do, or what the CPUC is doing is really not really at our review at this point. Be my recommendation for you. In terms of the issues raised regarding noise and so forth, every applicant has to comply with the city's noise ordinance, and this would be no different. So the noise to be emitted by these type of vaults is actually substantially below the noise level in virtually every city noise ordinance that I'm aware of. So their compliance with that would be presumed as a condition of approval. The issue of the radome size, Mr. Bitter spoke to. Well, I guess my comment and my recommendation in my report was particularly timely. How did I know? Which I really didn't, so I would emphasize that you may wish to have a record on that, since you have all of the people here who have the first-hand knowledge as to the actual facts, and you can take that. I'm avoiding commenting about it because, frankly, I'd rather not testify for T-Mobile in this area. I'd rather have their record established for you by T-Mobile. Having said that, let me move on. Mr. Marks asked the question about why can't people just use their home phones. This particular site is what's called a two-sector site. It primarily, as you can see from the coverage maps, the proposed coverage maps that T-Mobile has provided, is essentially to provide a link between two other T-Mobile sites and to provide coverage along a specific segment of Westlake Boulevard. The side benefit of the site, if that is a benefit for T-Mobile or the residents, is that putting this particular site in the middle of their hole, as it were, allows them to actually use extremely low power. This is a particularly low power site. It does fully comply with the FCC standards for safety emissions, and it's unusually low power, and that's simply a factor of the fact that they're trying to plug a very specific hole of just up and down this one segment. This is a fairly common type of project for many carriers, not just here in Westlake, but elsewhere, so this is straightforward. I think that is what I have, and of course I'm open to any questions from you folks.
Questions from Mr. Kramer? Commissioner Fisher.
Yes, Mr. Kramer, excuse me, can you comment on the proposed, well, let's call it proposed site at the community center? One of the speakers brought that up, saying that it was, I guess, higher elevation than what is proposed. What do you think about that particular site?
Yeah, I've looked at all of these sites, and first and foremost, I look at these as an RF engineer, and specifically your RF engineer. So what I look at is, what is the best site that will provide the coverage that is required by a particular applicant versus the impact? And this site is an extremely low impact site. So whether the community center is a lower impact site or higher impact site, this is, from an engineering standpoint, from a design standpoint, an appropriate site and design that is consistent with the projects we have in the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Adam?
Thank you. For Ms. Leopold, just to confirm by the diagram here, what we've got here is a total height of 35 feet. The diagram showing the pole at 29.6 and then the radome at another, I don't know, 6 feet or so.
5.5 feet.
Total height,
yes.
35.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Commissioner Reynolds, did you have something?
That was the same thing.
Okay, any other further questions of staff? All right, we'll go back to the applicant, Ms. Courtney Schmidt, for applicant's rebuttal. You'll have 5 minutes, and please restate your name and city of residence for the record.
Again, Courtney Schmidt, Los Angeles. I wanted to bring up a few issues that were brought up by the residents, and one being the HOA approval. The HOA reviewed this installation from the fact that the equipment is located on a private property. They, and my discussions with Ms. Schutz before the original Planning Commission meeting was that the HOA did not have the ability to approve anything on public right-of-way land. Therefore, what was before them was the vault that was reviewed. She and I had a few discussions in regards to that before the HOA Architectural Committee reviewed the installation. I did not present before any board, which is what somebody else had mentioned. The T-Mobile is not responsible for notifying for their meetings, for their architectural committee meeting. I provided her with the exhibits, and she asked me some questions over email, and then we proceeded to receive the approval letter. What's before you this evening is accurate The drawings have always reflected the same numbers as what's before you this evening. This is substantially similar as what's already installed throughout your city. As I mentioned earlier, Southern California Edison actually has templates that the carriers use. It's not unusual for the poles throughout your city to be 29 feet 6 inches. Therefore, what is proposed to be replaced, which has been engineered by the Southern California Edison's engineers, is a 29-foot 6-inch pole that is capable of handling additional coax line inside the pole and the size of radome that is being proposed. The radome is substantially similar to other radomes throughout your city that you've approved prior to this proposal before you. Alternatives that were reviewed, the information was provided back to staff. It was provided back to the HOA representatives specifically because the one location that was of most interest to T-Mobile was the possibility of placing the equipment on HOA property. The three options that have been discussed again to the north, 8, 9, and 10, they are substantially out of our search area. They would need to be a significant, the pole for these types of installations would be significantly higher, not in line with what's already in your right-of-way, what people are used to seeing in the right-of-way, 29, 35, 40-foot structures. The alternatives in the time that T-Mobile has taken between the last Planning Commission meeting, October 13th, and today, I think should speak volumes in terms of taking this area seriously, reviewing the alternatives. When we're in an area such as this, it's very difficult to find a location that not only meets the coverage objective but also fits within the community. This was a unique situation where we were able to screen the equipment, place it in a vault. It was away from the right-of-way, not visible. It was something that was suggested to T-Mobile and another carrier years ago by city staff. This has been in the works for quite some time. It's had a lot of study to it, and we believe that it is the least obtrusive means of meeting our coverage objective for this particular area. In regards to the photosims and their reflection of the design, photosims is an artist rendering, and they are as accurate to the best of the ability of the person performing them. These photosims that are before you have been reviewed, tweaked, updated. It's not something that T-Mobile simply provides to the record and walks away from. It's something that we're constantly looking at. The technology is constantly improving. These are certainly an improvement over what was probably submitted originally for this proposed installation. Going back to T-Mobile's need for this installation, it's not just the fact that some people in the area may be needing improved coverage area. This has been a hole and a need for T-Mobile for a number of years. If there was an alternative way of meeting their coverage objective, they certainly would have done it much sooner than this. Once again, we are requesting approval this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions for the speaker? Commissioner Fisher.
Yes, can you take a look at the props that were brought in of the radomes? What would closely resemble what T-Mobile is proposing for the site? Which one, the yellow one or the large white one?
Well, I would have to take a tape measure, but the drawings are accurate in that they reflect a 20-inch in diameter radome where two antennas are housed within that radome. Those antennas are 51 inches long, and the radome is 5 feet 5 inches tall. And again, substantially similar to what's already proposed throughout your community.
So, again, which one is closest? I mean, it's night and day what I'm looking at. Can you a guess?
Without a tape measure and reviewing them, you know, I hate to validate something that I don't know what the actual measurement is. You know, it's 20 inches. It's not 8, it's 20 inches. And that's what has been proposed for a number of years.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to close the public hearing at this point and go to a Commission comments, discussions, and/or a motion? Well, we have two. Commissioner Reynolds?
Well, I don't like hearings that aren't easy. I really think that T-Mobile has stated their case, and I know that just looking at the white one, or two pieces of paper side by side, this has got to be 22 inches. And if you think about how high it's going to be up, things look a lot smaller than they do when you see it at this level too. I have no problem with the project. I've always been in support of the cell towers. I was very glad to hear that this is one time the neighbors didn't come to us and, you know, throw concerns about the RF factors and everything. It's very unusual to have a hearing and not hear that all the time. But I would therefore be in support of the project, and with that, I will move approval of the special use permit 2008-70071 and the oak tree permit 2008-70121 with the findings and conditions as attached.
Thank you very much. Comments to the motion? Commissioner Adam?
Thank you. I'm sorry that a few of the residents feel negatively about the project. However, I do feel that T-Mobile put the pieces together since the last meeting that we had. You know, there's what was previously above ground is now underground. There was an outreach meeting, which I think was good. There's ample precedent for this 35-foot height pole. There's 4 or 5 other ones in the community. I do believe that they'll go by what they said on the plan here, that it'll be 20 inches in diameter, 66 inches high. And I think that they extensively reviewed alternate sites, and this one boils down to the best site with the best coverage. So, you know, I will support the motion.
Thank you. Any further comments to the motion? Okay, I will. I concur with the comments of my two fellow commissioners. Without hearing any further comments, Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, just going back, looking at this estimated here. 20 inches, I think between the two there lies what we're actually looking at. It is consistent with the codes and previously approved projects, and going back to the first meeting, they did address the concerns. The main one, I believe, at that night was undergrounding, which they've covered appropriately, so I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Reynolds, any further comments? Please vote.
Motion passed 5-0.
There is a 10-day appeal period. Will the Secretary please call Case 6B?
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 6B regarding case SUP 2009-70115, applicant Famous Sports Bar, request to allow live entertainment and dancing and extend hours of operation on an existing sports bar. Location 821 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lynn, you have the staff duties this evening. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Chairman and member of the Planning Commission. For your second consideration this evening, a special use permit application has been filed requesting to allow live entertainment and dancing and to extend the operating hours for an existing sports bar. If I may direct your attention to the monitor. The applicant's Famous Sports Bar and Grill. Applicant's request is to allow live entertainment consisting of jazz band or piano and dance floor at the existing Famous Sports Bar and Grill. Their proposed entertainment hours are 4 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 4 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Friday through Sunday. Project location is at 821 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard. This is the front view, the corner view of the subject property. This is the view from the parking lot looking at the rear of the property. This is another view on the side. This is a view of a commercial building at the rear of the parking lot. They basically share the same parking lot. This is an interior view of the stage and the proposed dance floor. The proposed dance floor will be in front of the existing stage area. This is our other interior view of the restaurant bar area. It's another view of the bar area. The hours of operation currently is Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to midnight. Staff is recommending 11 a.m. to midnight. The current operating hours are 4 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Staff is recommending 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m., which matches the proposed closing hours of the applicant. On Sundays, the current operating hours are 4 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. The applicant is requesting for 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Staff is recommending to 12 midnight, although the applicant is requesting for 1:30 a.m. For live entertainment, the proposed live entertainment is from 4 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Staff is recommending 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. On Fridays and Sundays, the applicant is proposing 4 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Staff is recommending 4 p.m. to midnight on Friday and Saturday, and 10 p.m. on Sunday. Staff has imposed conditions to ensure that there's a compatibility with the center and to reduce the spillover of noise for the proposed live entertainment. Police Department also has reviewed the project and does not oppose the project and has included conditions in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of SUP 2009-70115 based on the findings subject to conditions contained in the staff report. This concludes the staff's presentation. Staff is available for any comments or questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lin. Questions? Commissioner Reynolds.
Good evening. Has staff expressed that they would not be applicable at all to us having it close at 12 midnight on Sundays? I mean, they'd have to go along with that condition if that's what we approved. But I just wonder if they've expressed any opinion to you.
The staff report was picked up by the applicant last Thursday, and the applicant is aware of the conditions imposed by the city. Perhaps the applicant...
That's the question to ask the applicant then.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is the old El Gato restaurant, isn't it? You remember that? It's when I moved here 38 years ago, it was a Mexican restaurant. So, okay, thank you. That's all.
That's it, Commissioner Reynolds? Okay, I wasn't alive 38 years ago. Commissioner Adam.
Thanks.
Commissioner Adam.
Thank you, young man. Anyway, just two quick questions. In the staff report, it mentions right towards the end, the police department has advised staff that the number of service calls for this location have been reduced since last July, when the restaurant changed ownership to the current applicant. The problematic word for me there is reduced. What does that mean? That, you know, we were getting a lot of calls, now we're just getting a moderate amount, or what? Can you amplify on that a little bit for me?
Staff has a number of calls from the past 3 years of police calls. Staff understands that the applicant took over the restaurant about a year ago. In calculation that the total number of calls as of from August, when the applicant took over the restaurant, until June, the number of calls were 12. 12. Before that, the total number of calls within the 2 years range was 70. So the number has been reduced.
Okay, all right. All right, well, that describes reduced. That's good. That's concrete numbers. Thank you. And then the next question is on, which applies to what you just told me. Condition 27 about the security guards. It says that we're going to ask for 2 security guards on duty. Is that either overkill, or is it because of these calls that we've been getting? Seems like a lot to me to require 2 security guards to be on duty during the live entertainment section. Seems costly, but and maybe it's the police department deems that it's...
Hey, good evening, Commissioners. Prior to the applicant owning the property, we had a significant amount of calls for service at the location. Ever since the applicant has owned the property, he has made some positive strides to reduce the number of calls, and we feel that in order to keep that going, we really admit the applicant has made great strides in reducing the number of calls and to change the clientele of the famous sports bar, because before we were getting calls frequently there. Now the number has reduced. We put that stipulation about the security guards because I met the applicant a few times, and he stated the type of entertainment he was going to have, type of music, which is fine. But in order to have those calls for service at the same level, we wanted to ensure that we did have security guards on hand just in case something did happen at that location.
I see. All right. So, and like you said, so the 2 guards will be sure that we keep the reduction in place and maybe even reduce it further.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then you mentioned the music. It's supposed to be jazz, right?
He said jazz, soft rock, and piano type music.
You would think that would draw a more sedate crowd. But
you would think, but you just never know.
You never know. All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
If I add in addition, the applicant, we put that stipulation in also because the applicant wanted to have private parties in there also. And with private parties, who knows what that entails. So that's another reason why we put that stipulation in.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adam. And that opinion regarding music and sedate crowds doesn't necessarily reflect the opinions of this commission. Commissioner Reynolds.
Good evening. I'm kind of curious, were the calls for problems inside the bar or out in the parking lot?
I gave Mr. Lynn what we call the calls for service, and the calls for service is any time an officer does any kind of police work at a location or near a location. So those calls for service that were brought up entails calls to that particular location, also calls, whether it be a traffic stop, a traffic collision, a pedestrian stop. So it entails all types. Anytime a police officer makes any kind of contact or generates any activity, it goes into a database.
So you really just can't tell us if it's because people would hang around the parking lot after the bar was closing, because that's always a concern of this commission, is when we close something down or stop entertainment, how long is it going to be for the people to vacate the property? And a lot of times they stand out in the parking lot, and that causes noise for the neighbors.
I do know of one incident that happened at the location, but which was a violent incident, but the applicant he was the person that called it in and reported to us. It wasn't because of anything the applicant did.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really go back and review any such calls if you would like.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Is there a lot of difference, let's say, for calls if they're listening to jazz, or I noticed one of the neighbors said quiet country music. Well, I love country music, and I don't know if it really quiet. They always talk about drinking and the country music. But I just wondered if the type of music is what really brings the different type of crowds, and that some will be a lot rowdier than others.
Well, prior, the applicant did have a different clientele, because I think it was because of the music. With the type of music he wants to have now, we'll introduce hopefully fewer calls, for instance, which it has, and I think that music does have an effect on the clientele that does show up.
Okay, so you're talking hard rock compared to jazz or something like
Correct.
that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Further questions of staff? I'm glad we're getting off the music critique here, and we'll get on with hearing this case. I do have a comment and maybe a question here for the police. I was very pleased to see what staff's wording was on this report, based on my occupation. I think that that's probably a good thing, and the words were crafted very well in the staff report in terms of a reduction. What that says to me, this commissioner, is that the owner is concerned and has placed protocols in place to bring that down, and that's always what we want to see in these things. Would that be a fair and accurate assessment?
Yes, it would.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions? Yes, Mr. Town?
If I could just make a couple of quick comments in terms of comments brought up by the commission. First of all, we do not limit the type of music that can be played. This owner may be proposing jazz, and that's fine, but we do not limit it. It's not part of your conditions of approval. So I just wanted to make that clear, that musical style could change next week, next month, next year. As far as live entertainment, closing hour vis-a-vis the hours of operation, just to be clear, what is proposed right now in terms of the live entertainment by the applicant on, for instance, Friday and Saturday nights, is to allow live entertainment to proceed until 1:30 a.m. Staff is recommending midnight as the closing time. Those 2 nights, the overall hours of operation would extend to 1:30 in the morning. So therefore, you have an hour and a half between the closure of live entertainment and the actual closure of the bar restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. Town. Any further comments or questions? Very well. Thank you. All right, we'll go to our first speaker this evening, Caro Garabedian, and I hope I said that correctly or somewhere close. At least you stood up. Good evening, sir. Please state your name and your city of residence for the record. You have 15 minutes.
My name is Caro Garabedian. I live in Encino, and I represent Famous Sports Bar and Grill for our request for approval of the special use permit, as was stated. We agree with 20-something conditions that are given in the staff report. We will work with that, we will comply with that, except we have a few questions about the hours of operation, meaning the hours of live entertainment. And I know this was asked before to the staff today, and I would like to answer these questions. The live entertainment portion of our operation we would like to see to be extended until for Friday and Saturday to be until 12:30, and in the weekdays, which will be Sunday through Thursday, we would like to see that to be until 11 o'clock. Reason for that being is we tend to start the music later into the evening, and we fear that there will be not enough time for our customers to fully enjoy the evening. And that would actually work against us. And that's, since we are the new owners, we have done much effort to bring the business to level we have today, to cut down the police calls, to bring the discipline to the place. We would like to, and our management would like to see these hours in effect. So Friday and Saturday being 12:30, and the Sunday through Thursday being 11 o'clock. Of course, our closing times will be will be different without the entertainment. And since we have, and I will give the closing times right now, well, the hours of operation will be, Friday and Saturday will be until 1:30, and Sunday through Thursday will be 12 o'clock. So we'll have plenty of time for people to gather and leave after ending of the live entertainment portion. As far as the security part, our security guards will be working to disperse the crowds after the events and to make sure there's a very effective way of getting people out to their cars and to their homes. And well, as you heard today before, our crowds tend to be a little different from what the crowds were before in the same business, in the same building. Therefore, we would like to encourage more family-oriented and mellow nights. And in addition to that, we would like to see our neighborhood attend to our business. Many people go off to Oxnard, many people go to different cities for this type of events, for this type of venues, and we would like to provide this service to our immediate neighbors, at least. We have a strong support from the immediate neighbors and a larger neighborhood. We have a list that was presented to many neighbors that were signed, and they were for our operations. Also, the staff has received a few letters supporting our proposals. We will work with the police department to make sure that we keep reducing the number of calls, and that's purely in our interest, in addition to the interest of the safety of the people. Fire department, we will be working with them very closely to make sure it's a safe environment. And as far as the noise outside of the building, we would like to mitigate some of these concerns by insulating the exterior doors, which are currently uninsulated. We would like to bring professional service and professionals to do that for us. So far, for the past year, we brought up this building from a very old, falling apart, untaken care of place to the place we have right now. Everything is neat, everything is clean, and we would like to keep it this way. I would like to thank for possible approval of this project.
Thank you, sir. Questions for the speaker? Commissioner Adam?
Hello, Mr. Garabedian, how are you? You're suggesting that the entertainment goes till 11 o'clock Sunday through Thursday and 12:30 Friday and Saturday. But if you may have heard, our staff has found through experience that when you cut the entertainment off, it doesn't actually end there, and that there's a time period afterwards if people are leaving and et cetera, which can add, did I get this right, Mr. Town, about an hour onto the, is that what the experience has been?
In other projects, we typically curtail live entertainment a half an hour before general closing. What the applicant is saying right now is recommending basically a compromise to 11 o'clock Monday or Sunday through Thursday. The closing hours at that time would be 12 o'clock. So instead of an hour and a half buffer, you'd have an hour for live entertainment guests, so to speak, to clear. And the same would apply to Friday and Saturday. The overall hours of operation, staff does not disagree with the applicant on. That is till 1:30 in the morning. which is consistent with other nightclub-type activities such as the Borderline. It's actually open, or the approved hours are until 2 a.m. What we're hearing from the applicant, again on Friday and Saturday, is a compromise where the live entertainment would curtail at 12:30 a.m., an hour prior to overall closure of the restaurant.
So I guess the question would be, with the buffers usually an hour and a half, you want to cut it to an hour, how would you ensure the prompt dispersal of the folks, considering the fact, too, that there's some homes, within 100 feet of the establishment?
Yes. Well, first of all, that will be our policy in the business, and the most important, we'll utilize our security guards to make sure people don't hang around the parking lot unnecessarily times. We think that this 1 hour given after the entertainment and before the closing is sufficient time for us to do this. Well, this is just to be on the safer side. This doesn't mean this will be happening every single day. This will just give us an approval, basically, that we can do this whenever necessary. Doesn't mean that all the events will be at the same times.
All right.
From our past events, we learned that times fluctuate, but we would like to have this at least for our operations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further questions? I have a question for you. I was really, a statement and a question, really pleased to see that you did some outreach in terms of the neighbors here. And is that exactly what you did? Did you go to neighbors in the area, or did you ask patrons as the patrons came into the facility?
No, we actually went to the neighbors, and we also did inquiries of people we know in the area.
Good. Thank you very much. Anything further? Thank you very much, sir. Lisa Donahue, followed by Ira Nepes, followed by Peter Green. Good evening, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening.
Please state your name and your city of residence for the record.
My name is Lisa Donahue. I'm a resident of Westlake Village, California, and I'm a small business owner in Thousand Oaks. My business is called For Heaven's Cakes, and it sits directly across the street from the famous sports bar. A couple of months ago, Tony, the new owner, came over to my facility, knocked on my door, and introduced himself. And he said, "Hi, I'm the new owner of the bar across the street, and I'm here to tell you there's some good news." I said, "Really? We need that around here." So I was pretty impressed with him. He told me his improvements, and so I said, "Okay, let's see if you make good on them." So a couple months later, I walked back over, and he did. I was really impressed with the new additions that Tony put into the bar. It looked really clean. He put in new furniture, new flooring, gosh, lots of new stuff. But the one thing that really impressed me the most about this new facility was that Tony had installed a really extensive surveillance camera system. So he showed me all the cameras in the bar, and then he took me outside and he showed me all the cameras in the parking lot. And as a small business owner, I felt very protected, and I really like that. And even now I'm a patron, so that says a lot. So I'm not opposed, I'm absolutely for it. And I don't know if you know this, but between Rancho and Moore Park, we're considered the dead end of the boulevard. And I've been seeing some really good positive changes the last 6 months with some new additions. I'm really pleased to say that the Armstrong Nursery that's there was terrific. And also there's a new restaurant. It's called Darbin's Grill, and they're also here for their entertainment permit, and I'm also for that as well. The reason why is because I think to revive our part of the city, this dead end of the boulevard, I think it's really important to bring life back to it. And what better way through food, music, entertainment? So I'm for it as a small business owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the speaker? Commissioner Grumney.
I just wanted to know for a second a little bit more of what your business is.
Well, it's directly across the street. It's a cake shop. It's called For Heaven's Cakes, and we're closed Sundays and Mondays. And what really sparked my interest was Tony came over and said, you know, on Sundays, Lisa, I would really like to have an entertainment permit and bring in jazz and have a lounging area. And I thought that'd be terrific to bring more business to this part of the town. I would even maybe consider keeping my doors open on Sunday.
Well, what I was looking for specifically on that, and I appreciate that you came down and to testify, but I was giving you that opportunity to tell the public what specifically you do. So as if someone has a birthday, they can purchase a cake there?
Absolutely.
Giving you that opportunity. I was trying not to be so obvious.
No, but you know what? Look, when all the business owners do well, we can do well as well. So we're really excited for this new addition.
Well, thank you for your comments, and I wish you a lot of success with your business.
Any further questions? There will be no charge for that paid advertisement from Commissioner Grumney. Ira Nepes, please. Good evening, sir. Please state your name and your city of residence for the record.
Good evening. My name is Ira Nepes. I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks, and I'm a professional musician for practically 40 years. And we are very delighted that the Famous Sports Bar is willing to accept live entertainment, and especially jazz, because I would so love to have an opportunity to have a jazz facility out here in Thousand Oaks. We do not have any jazz right now, really. I host the Gardens of the World, the jazz series in the summertime, and I put together the talent for that. And there's so many wonderful musicians that live here in the Thousand Oaks area that would love to have a place to perform and play on a weekly basis. And so I really look forward to it. I met Tony. He's a wonderful person. He's got a wonderful facility. I saw the stage there, good sound system, a screen for showing perhaps jazz movies would be wonderful. And so I really want to support the Famous Bar here and hope that it happens and we get the permit so we can perform, hopefully on a weekly basis. And as far as the hours go, I don't want to curtail, of course, their desire to keep the Famous Bar and Grill open. As I said, I'm a professional musician for 40 years here, and frankly, about 11 o'clock, I'm ready to go to bed. And I know Thousand Oaks, you know, pretty much rolls up the carpet at an early hour. They're not, you know, these are people that don't really hang out very late, so whatever works out for the best, but I would love to see a permit for live entertainment at the Famous Sports Bar and Grill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions for the speaker? Thank you very much. Okay. Peter Green? Good evening, sir. Please state your name and your city of residence for the record.
Good evening. Actually, my name is Peter Greer. I'm a 30-year resident of Thousand Oaks and a 30-year resident of Irving Drive. In that 30 years, I've never had anybody from that location come and ask me anything. I have never seen anybody give me a petition. I own more than one house on that street, and at 8 minutes after 6 this evening, when I got the call back from your planner, I did a quick survey of my 3 neighbors, and none of them ever saw a survey or asked anything about live entertainment at the sports bar. About 2 years ago, there was another application that was withdrawn. At that time, I did circulate a petition with the neighbors. I had 75 signatures on the English-speaking application, or petition that I handed out, and over 50 on the Spanish. What petition was handed out, I'd like to know, and who was asked, because I wasn't asked, and many of my neighbors weren't. I will tell you that this is the best neighbor we've ever had in that bar. Since El Gato, there have been 19 establishments there. Originally, that was a market, and there are people in our neighborhood who remember it as a market back in the 30s and 40s. There were people who remember the wooden bridge across there also. This is a neighborhood where people have been for a very long time. And if I'd had the time and I'd gone out in the neighborhood and I had done my own petition, I'm sure you'd find a lot of people objecting. In addressing the police calls, one of the reasons that police calls have dropped is there is less noise. But I will address the policeman or police and say, why else are there less calls? One reason is because they can't do very much. If you do call a noise complaint and you call the regular number, it gets transferred to 911 and you are told it is not an emergency. So try it sometime. If it is an emergency, if there is a car accident, they'll turn up, but often there isn't. That's a good reason for the reduction in the calls. Jazz, as you said, is not the entertainment application they're asking for. They're asking for an application. And when we sit in our house, which has double insulated walls, that's right, it's double insulated walls, double insulated windows, and you put a bass sound system out there, you hear it. It shakes the house. And I built that house so that it would not have noise from the freeways and from the road, but the bass sounds still come through. It does affect our home values. It affects our neighborhood. The traffic on the streets increases as the hours increase. That's very important. If you will look at the picture that was put up earlier of the sports bar, you'll see 3 violations to your zoning in the picture that was presented. Those have to do with the banners and the signs, the outside, the one you took from Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Back. No, the front. Right there. See the flags and the pennants and the signs that are up there? Those do not comply with your sign ordinances. And I looked that up also. When I was sitting at my house on my way over here on the street, and I could count the signs and the violations right there, and I was told that was posted a sign talking about this hearing, the sign's on the right-hand side behind those trees. Now, I can't see it from my house. I didn't know it was posted. The only notification I had was a couple of weeks ago. I've been very busy. I'm a business person. I'm a business owner. I would never buy or invest in a business that wasn't zoned for my present use, and yet you have somebody a year ago who purchased this business with something in mind that didn't come across. Let's see. If you do pass this, I'd like to see you put some teeth in it. I would like to see the hours reduced as much as possible. People who live there go to work on Monday morning, and a late night noise is not conducive to sleeping, obviously. If you put some teeth in it, something effective, if they had 1 violation, their special use permit would be pulled. That would be wonderful. I thank you for your time, and I'm more than willing to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions for the speaker? Thank you very much. Mr. Kidway.
Nick Iqbal Kidwai, resident of Newberry Park, Director, Concerned Citizens of Thousand Oaks, Honorable Chair Lunn. Public speakers do make a difference. I have a talk in my mind in support of the applicant, but the last speaker kind of poured cold water over it. I spoke out in favor of Borders Bar and Grill about a dozen years ago or 10 years ago, and since I don't drink and don't dance much, never went there except for about a couple of months ago, and had a fairly nice dinner there. It's really not a dinner place that much, but the dinner was good, and we were treated, I went with my wife, we were treated very well, and there was dancing instruction going on. But the interesting thing that I want to bring out is that I looked at the freeway sitting at the bar table, and I could not hear anything at all. And so we have made a lot of progress as far as noise attenuation is concerned, and the last speaker also talked about having his home done better. This property, and I think it was mentioned that it has changed hands 19 times, but that's one of the changes that I see on the boulevard when I drive every 6 or 8 months, is that there's a new owner there. Long-standing bar and friend Enriquez went under 3 weeks ago or a month ago. So they have that business too. My kids really don't like, and there's a thing with a lot of other people too, this city, I mean, it was said, I mean, it's a sleepy town, but there we have teenagers, we have young people. In fact, the music that is being proposed is for my generation. I mean, jazz plus 80s music, that's what was said. Even out of respect for the residents and all that, but I don't really see, unless there was an outcry of the residents, and if this was like level 3 was, or the restaurant, entertainment that was approved in Dos Vientos. This is on the so-called blighted boulevard, I mean in the heart of the commercial section. And if we won't have a place for fun for the younger people, and even not so young, to unwind and export our problems or our entertainment and fun to Oxnard and Santa Monica and Venice and Granada Hills, I would, with all due respect, ask that they know what works for them, and they have been more than generous. I think the hours should be longer. People should be able to enjoy themselves, especially on the weekend for sure. And the applicant already talked about having a better soundproofing on the door. Maybe if they are more careful, the sound situation would not be as bad. But we have to live and let live. I mean, I live next to Amgen, and 2 times a year, maybe 3 times a year, and they've reduced it. They have parties on their campus, and they have all kind of music and all that. And my neighbor said the other day, I mean, she said, you know how awful it is. And I just laughed. I mean, that's one of the greatest things in this community is Amgen. My wife worked there, did not work out, but it's great for my neighbor, she works there. What makes the world go around and this city and economy go around is successful small businesses. And we need to be more friendly, especially in these hard economic times, to put all these conditions. And I was thinking about the 2 hours that the reduction in the entertainment. I remember talking to my boss a few times over my career. Well, I want to be the superstar and outsell or outperform the other people. How do I do it? And he said, you know, most of the guys, you know, they unwind at 3 o'clock. And if you go till 5 or if you go till 6, you know, multiply that 5 by 5, how many hours is that? And I did that, and I was successful, and I made some extra money and made the boss happy. Those hours that you're cutting is actually, I mean, it's income. I mean, that's of this owner that you're cutting, and maybe that will be the camel's back that breaks, that this business goes out of business. So, with all due respect to the neighbors, I would really encourage you to give these people a break.
Thank you, Mr. Kidway. That concludes our speakers. We'll go back to staff for staff comments.
In responding to the applicant's proposed extended hours for live entertainment from Friday, Saturday to 12:30, the 12 o'clock midnight will be more consistent with the other entertainment that Planning Commission has approved. As for Sunday through Thursday, the extension, the proposed request for until 11 o'clock p.m. rather than the recommended 10 p.m. from the staff does not have any problems with the 11 o'clock p.m. for live entertainment. In responding to the noises, condition number 11 on the staff report does include that the music is limited to the tenant space only, which is prohibited on the exterior of the restaurant. That's it.
Mr. Town?
Yeah, if I could just follow up and augment Mr. Lynn's comments. Again, just to reiterate, the Monday through Thursday, live entertainment, hours of operation, the applicant is proposing tonight to go until 11 p.m. Now, we're just talking Sunday through Thursday. okay, Sunday through Thursday. Just to give the commission some comparative information, the closing time for live entertainment for those days, Sunday through Thursday, at other cases which you have considered in recent history, Vivoli Cafe is midnight. Applicant tonight is proposing 11. Stuffed Pizza, 11:30 p.m. Applicant is proposing now 11. Bayavino is closed Monday through Wednesday, but on Sundays it closes at 7. As I mentioned before, the Borderline is open for both live entertainment and overall hours of operation until 2 a.m. The Yucatan in the North Ranch Plaza was also approved till 2 a.m. So 11 p.m. Doesn't seem unreasonable, as Mr. Lin mentioned. On Friday and Saturday, the applicant is proposing tonight 12:30 as the closing time for live entertainment. And again, that would be 1 hour prior to general closing. Closing times, again, comparatively speaking, applicant, again, proposing 12:30. Bayavino, for those nights, it's midnight. Borderline, we already said, is 2 a.m. Stuffed Pizza is 11:30 p.m. Vivoli is 1 a.m. And the Bella Luna Cafe, which you also considered last year, is midnight. So I give those to say that there's a range of hours, but that range of hours is between 11:30 and 2 a.m. And that's for a combination of both just live entertainment with no dancing and live entertainment with dancing. What we're talking about tonight is live entertainment with dancing. It's technically a nightclub under the municipal code. So anyway, provide that as some background for Mr. Lin's comments to indicate that the proposed hours are not really unreasonable. Again, you still have an hour buffer between close of live entertainment at any of these times, any of these days, and closure of the overall bar restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. Town. One more?
I'm sorry, just on a different point. Mr. Greer brought up some concerns about the noise, and I would just like to bring to the commission's attention that there are a number of conditions of approval that are included in the packet on page 50. For instance, conditions 11 and 12 both restrict live entertainment in different ways to the interior of the building, to small bands. There will be either acoustic or through small amplification devices. Live conditions 17 and 18 on the following page 51 of your packet also address live entertainment. Shall not be audible 20 feet beyond the area under control. And then finally, condition 7, revocation of permit, that states that any verified complaints of excessive noise shall be the grounds for initiation of proceedings to consider revocation of this SUP. So to use Mr. Greer's words, I do believe that there are teeth in these conditions that the commission can rely on to ensure that the business would proceed as proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Town. Is there any further questions for staff at all? Okay, thank you. And we'll go back to Mr. Garabedian for your applicant's rebuttal. Sir, please state your name and city of residence for the record again, and you will have 5 minutes.
Okay, Carl Garabedian from Encino. As discussed today, we feel that whatever we're asking is reasonable, and whatever the city conditions we have or planning department conditions we have, we can comply with. To repeat again, we will emphasize on the security portion of our operations, and also we will do our very best to insulate the building to the noise. We have a good air conditioning system that allows us to keep the doors closed as much as possible. We would like to get the respect to the neighbors, and we will do our best to mitigate all the negative concerns they have. Basically, we will we will provide solutions to the noise, to the security, and we will provide a good environment for our neighbors. We will provide, of course, we're looking forward to hiring locally. As we expand in our operations, we'll establish ourselves in the city of Thousand Oaks. We'll hire people from our neighborhood. And this way we will actually work for our neighbors instead of them going to other cities to have their parties, to have their nights out, or to enjoy their music. Will be locally. We can provide that for them. I would again thank the members for approving possibly this project, and we'll be looking forward to working with the neighbors.
Thank you, sir. Questions for the speaker? Very well. We'll close the public hearing and go to commission discussion and or call for a vote, and we'll go to Commissioner Adam.
Yes, thank you. I think this business is going in the right direction from what I've heard tonight. The calls are down. The owner seems to be really doing everything he can to be a good member of the community. His neighbors seem to be positive about the business, and I think that I would move that we approve the special use permit, but I just changed one thing whereby and I would go along with staff here, that they consider it reasonable that entertainment goes to 11 p.m. from Sunday to Thursday instead of 10. However, I would also agree with staff that we just keep the entertainment till midnight on Friday and Saturday. Sound reasonable?
Okay. Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, just a comment. I do support the application. Certainly with 2 security guards, all the upgrades they put in is outstanding. Going back, just looking at, let's say, Stuffed Crust Pizza and Bella Luna, extended operating hours, but it's rare that they go up to that time. Again, I would like to give the business owner some flexibility. What they proposed, I think, is reasonable. We're talking 30 minutes. I doubt they're ever going to get there. But again, giving them flexibility. So just something for discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. I'd like to weigh in also, and I agree with you. I agree with your comments. We've heard testimony here from folks in business, and we know what type of an economy that we're in. We've obviously got a business owner here that has started to make all the right moves. And I think maybe what's a little different here than maybe some other cases is we do have security guards here. And I think, my recommendation would be tie now goes to the business owner. I would propose a friendly amendment to say, let's give this a roll, considering the fact that we've got some teeth in here in terms of noise, and to try to maybe extend this thing out. We still have got about an hour here that we have the aid of a security guard, and a lot of those other businesses do not have that. That would be my recommendation on the motion.
Oh, that's good. Did you have anything, Commissioner?
Commissioner Reynolds?
I also agree. I would like to see us extend those hours to 12:30. I think that with the economic times and everything, that what they're doing with the security guards and how the calls are so down, that I would be willing to do that. Also, for the one homeowner, there is a copy of the petition in the packet, or I pulled mine out if he'd like it. It is public record, and you're welcome to see it. So,
thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Any further comments? Commissioner Grumney?
Well, I'm just going to add an additional comment. I'm also in support of the applicant's request, but I wanted to just put a little different face on the sports bar and what this is in our community. I think there's a tendency to think that it is just teenagers or young people, or maybe that there's some negative activity that is going along with it. Well, my husband participates on a men's softball league for our church. And when they finish, as part of their activities to be together as a group of men doing positive activities, is to go someplace to eat and drink and talk. And there aren't a lot of places to go for them to be able to do that. And so I see this as a positive addition, that there are places for people to go within our community that aren't traveling a far distance. And so I just wanted to give a little different picture to the types of people who might be involved in an activity at this facility.
Thank you, Commissioner Grumney. Any further comments? Commissioner Adam, are you willing to make an amendment to your motion?
Yeah, that's fine. It's good to hear everybody weigh in. I would just restate it then, that we approve the SUP, and with the only difference being that entertainment is allowed from 4 to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 4 to 12:30 a.m. Friday through Saturday.
Further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passed, 5-0.
There is a 10-day appeal period. Will Secretary please call case 6C?
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 6C regarding case SUP 2009-70208, applicant Darband Grill, request to allow live entertainment consisting of a guitar player, singer, and belly dancing, and to upgrade the on-site sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages from beer and wine to full complement of alcoholic beverages, in conjunction with an existing restaurant. Location, 868 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard.
Thank you very much. Staff report is by Mr. Alawami tonight, and may I say that's a very nice shirt, sir. Good evening.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Chair, members of the commission, I'd like to draw your attention to the screen for staff's presentation. As mentioned, the applicant is Darband Grill, located at 868 Thousand Oaks Boulevard, and the request is to allow live entertainment and modify the on-site sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages. The request of the SUP, again, live entertainment, which consists of a guitar player singing and belly dancing, and to modify the on-site sale and consumption of alcohol, which is now limited to beer and wine only, to full complement of alcoholic beverages. Here's a picture of the restaurant. This restaurant just went to a major renovation, exterior renovation, interior renovation. It is part of the Heritage Plaza, and just opened 2 weeks ago. This is a floor plan, which is not, it's a lot of information. However, the location of the singer is in the middle of the restaurant, to the left side of the floor plan. That's where the activity is going to take place. The hours of operation for the restaurant is Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 12:30 a.m., Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. The live entertainment hours of operation proposed is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 8 p.m. to midnight, and those proposed hours of operation are consistent with other restaurants providing similar activities in the city. Again, the live entertainment consists of a guitar player, singer, and belly dancing. It's contained within the interior of the restaurant. The nearest residential house or property to the site is 340 feet to the north, which is separated by Thousand Oaks Boulevard and other commercial uses. And that house is located on the southwest corner of Houston and Greenwich Drive. There will be no speakers or amplified sounds. No speakers or amplified sound will be used. And there's no music or live entertainment outside in the outdoor seating area. So it's all interior within the space. The alcoholic beverage request is to modify the on-site sale and consumption from beer and wine only to full complement, and the request is similar to other restaurants in the community. Staff's evaluation is that the conditions imposed on the projects to ensure that requests will not have any adverse impacts in surrounding neighborhoods and properties, and the police department has approved the proposal subject to conditions for approval. The project is category exempt from under the California Environmental Quality Act, Class 1, which consists of a minor change in operation of an existing facility. Staff recommends approval of special use permit 2009-70208 based on the findings and conditions in the staff report. Staff will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions to staff. Commissioner Reynolds.
First of all, I wanted to state that I did visit the Darben Grill and went in, and when I went in, I talked to a gentleman, he's in the audience, I don't know his name, and he just showed me where the guitarist was going to sit and where the belly dancer would be, and that was it. There was no other discussion. I have a question. I noticed, though, when I did pull up and I parked in front, that I got out of my car and I heard music, and I noticed right up above there's an outside eating area, seating area. There is a speaker. Now, you said that if we give this permit that we won't have any of the music going outside, but can they have just during the day music on the outside speakers?
Yeah, the music is ambient music. It's not loud. I mean, you have to be in outdoor sitting area to hear it. So this is just, my understanding, the applicant confirmed that the live entertainment will not be outside.
Coming through those speakers. Okay.
Correct. It's all contained within the space inside.
Okay, that was my only concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? No questions. All right. Let's go to Mr. Farhad Mazudi. Hopefully I'm close on that. Good evening, sir. And please state your name and your city of record or city of residence for the record, please. You have 15 minutes.
Very nervous, excuse me. My name is Farhad Maksudi. I live in Calabasas. I'm the owner of Darben Restaurant, or you can call it Darben Grill. I have another Darben restaurant in the Valley on Ventura Boulevard and Tampa. I have another location, which is in city of Glendale. I applied for this license solely because the entertainment is part of dining and wining. And in our culture, in our restaurant business, I think belly dancer and somebody playing keyboard or playing a little bit of a background music. My music is not a disco, it's not a hard rock music. Is more of a entertaining, more of soft music, especially the belly dancer part. And to apply for a thing for a hard liquor and transfer the beer and wine to hard liquor, I think is just good business decision because it bring more business to the establishment. It bring more money, and it bring more customer. More of our guests usually asking for hard liquor. And as Mr. Hayder mentioned, the music is going to be solely inside the restaurant. It's not going to be the outside. It's not going to go to the late hours at night. It's going to stay within the hours, mostly finished by 12 o'clock. And I'm glad I'm in the city of Thousand Oaks. It's a beautiful city. I didn't know it. I live in Calabasas, but I didn't know about Thousand Oaks and Westlake. And during the construction of this restaurant, I got to know a lot of people that they think that they live in the neighborhood, and I'm glad that I made the move. And I built a restaurant. I hope you all enjoy me for dinner some night. And, I'd have a great time. And I have a belly dancer come to your table also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been an interesting meeting. No comments on the belly dancing, Commissioner Reynolds. Questions for the speaker? Commissioner Grimney.
I'm just going to be consistent here. What type of food do you serve?
I serve Persian food, actually. It consists of all kind of kebabs, like your famous shish kebab, like everybody heard, and lamb kebab, and fish kebab, and filet and chicken breast kebab, everything served with vegetable and salad and rice.
So the type of entertainment you're looking for is to really further that kind of feel for the type of food that you serve, correct?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, yes. I just didn't want people to come there and have the rice and sit and get tired. And, you know, a little bit of music and entertainment will help everybody.
Further questions for the speaker? Thank you, sir. You'll have a rebuttal here in just a few minutes. Mr. Kidway. Mr. Kidway, I would be awfully remiss tonight if I didn't compliment you on your attire. You obviously got the memo. You look very nice, sir, and you know the drill.
I'm just scared that people on the street may think that I'm part of staff now. Nick Iqbal Kidwai, resident of Newberry Park, Director Concerned, Citizen of Thousand Oaks. Honorable Chair, I guess this is the last hurrah before the holidays. I was driving down Ventura Boulevard on Friday, and I appreciate that you folks get your agenda up early, so I had seen this on Wednesday night, I think, on the agenda, that this thing was going to be on the agenda, and lo and behold, I see Darband on Ventura Boulevard. But I was too busy, unfortunately, working, so I could not stop. Right now, we have to go all the way to Cannon Road to enjoy a nice kubite, and they have a belly dancer there. I discovered only on weekends, and so I've gone there on weekdays, so I have missed the entertainment. Well, I come before you again to make it short with 100% support. It will be great to have this food and this entertainment available in our backyard, and we don't have to drive a lot. My next door neighbor is Spurgeon, and he's dying for you folks to open this, and as is my wife, because she loves Scooby-Doo. However, I would ask for a continuation, with all due respect. You know, the staff maybe was remiss in not telling the applicants, and they should tell them in the future for these kind of hearings, that this is actually a theater. And I attend a lot of council meetings, as you know, and there's a lot of artists that come over here and perform so that to give us a flavor as to what is happening. And Mr. Al-Awami, I'm disappointed that, I mean, I came with the money, I mean, but that's one of the traditions, you put this in the clothes of the belly dancer. But I guess I'm going to save it until I go to the restaurant. So I would ask, with all due respect, that there really should be a continuation, and the planning commissioners are really smart people. I mean, if the belly dancer passes the test, then the SUP should be granted. Thank you for letting me speak.
Mr. Kidway, before you get away, we've got questions for you. Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you going to be the judge?
5+1, sure.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Back to staff.
Staff has no comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Back to the applicant. Sir, you have a rebuttal for comments, 5 minutes? No comments. Well, that's good. So we can close the public hearing now. Thank you, sir. And we'll go to commission comments and or a motion. Commissioner Reynolds.
It is with pleasure that I move approval of SUP 2009-70208. It was a very nice restaurant when I went inside, and there were people in there dining, and it's a good atmosphere, and I think with entertainment, it'll even be better, and with your full liquor license. So I think that anything that we can do to help the businesses in town and to get people to come out to them is very important. And that's why I move approval.
Comments to the motion? Commissioner Fisher?
Yes, I'm also pleased to support the motion. I think this is a great addition, and it's definitely something different, which we definitely need here in the city, so looking forward to it.
Further comments? Commissioner Grumney?
Yes, I too will be in support of the motion, and I'm really glad to hear that there is something different, Persian food at 868 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard. So good luck to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grumney. I'm sure an ad agency will pick you up for commercials by the end of this meeting tonight. Any further comments? No more comments to the motion? Please vote.
Motion passed, 5-0.
And there is a 10-day appeal period. Congratulations. Number 7, Community Development Department reports and referrals. Mr. Town.
Thank you, Chair Lund. Just to mention a couple of items coming up at your next meeting, which is September 14th. We have tentatively planned the Area Housing Authority project, a 60-unit affordable housing project on Los Feliz Boulevard, as well as the city's tree pruning ordinance. That's an MCA, Municipal Code Amendment, for your consideration. And then also in terms of cases which you have heard and which will be heard by the council, both of the mobile home cases which the commission recently considered, Conejo Mobile Home Park and Vallecita Mobile Home Park, were both appealed by the property owners and will be heard by the city council in early September. And then also the Walsh case, which you also heard, will be heard. It was initially scheduled for July 14th for the council. That was continued to September 22nd. And that's all I had right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Town. Do we have a motion for the minutes of June 29, 2009? Commissioner Grumney.
I move approval of the minutes of the meeting of June 29, 2009.
Please vote.
Motion passed, 5-0.
AB 1234 reports? No? How about commission comments? All right, well, with that, we're going to stand adjourned at 6:30 p.m., September 14, 2009. Thanks to city staff, city attorney, and our police department. Have a great summer.